everybody, my name is Dina Anderson, and I want to give you some key steps to have a very successful video interview. First things first, when you're notified that you have a video interview coming up, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you test your tech. It's really important, whether the call is on Zoom or Teams, that those platforms work for you properly. You don't want to run into issues 5 minutes before the interview is supposed to start. So reach out to a mentor, reach out to a friend, somebody that you can jump on a call with and do a dry run just to make sure that your tech is working properly. And again, you have no issues and can definitely knock out your interview at the allotted time. Also, when you're getting ready to do your interview, preparation is key. And when I say preparation, you want to make sure not only are you prepared for the content, but your settings and your surroundings are prepared. I know we live in a virtual world. I know that there can be kids and there can be dogs and potentially construction. And there's a lot of things that are going on maybe in your home. But you want to make sure that you are in a room that is free of distractions, that don't take away from your actual interview. Also, you want to make sure that your lighting is good and that you're sitting far enough away from the camera so that the interviewer can see you and get a good representation of who you are on screen. And so when you're setting up for your interview and you're in this quiet room, you want to make sure that there's not a lot of distractions behind you as well. So I always say, even if you're sitting at the kitchen table and that's the only place you can do your interview, have a background like the one I have behind me. If you can't and you can get to a room where there's a blank wall behind you, that's fine too. Or maybe somewhere that has some tasteful art, or somewhere that has maybe some diplomas from, college or high school graduation. You also want to make sure that you never interview from your car. It's really unsafe, number one, and it can be very distracting to the person that's speaking to you as well, and there can be a lot of background noise. After you've tested your tech, after you've set up your space, you want to make sure that you pick out the right attire. And when I say that to make sure that you dress professionally. Always overdress rather than underdress, because I firmly believe that if you look good, you'll feel good and you'll present yourself well. Ladies, make sure that your hair is well groomed, your makeup is tasteful, and that maybe you have on a nice dressy blouse or maybe even a suit jacket. Men, same concept. Make sure that your face is well groomed with facial hair and your hair, and also, shirt and tie, even a jacket. If you are unsure of what you should wear during your interview, you can always potentially reach out to your recruiter or again, a mentor, somebody that can help guide you for what you should wear professionally. Once you've gotten these steps down, you want to make sure that while you're going through the interview, you are getting ready and you're prepared, but you have to be on time. Before the interview even starts, I always say jump in the interview room or jump on the meeting link 5 to 10 minutes early. It's always key to make you wait for them as opposed to the interviewer waiting for you. It's never a good impression when you're late to an interview. So that's why we take the steps beforehand to make sure everything works. While you're sitting in the waiting room, make sure that your camera's on, make sure that your mic is off mute, because you never know, they could jump in the interview early and they could just start pleasantries and starting to say hello. And then you may have to fumble around with your camera or your mic. So you always want to be prepared for the interview to jump in, immediately start the conversation. When you're doing your interview, posture and body language is super important. You want to make sure that you're sitting up straight, again, so they can get a full view of you in the camera. You're not slouched back. You're not leaning on the desk like this. It really just doesn't set off a good impression, and you want to make sure that your body language, again, is coming across as a professional. Interviews on video are no different than interviews in person, except you're sitting behind a screen. You want to fully engage with the person that you're interviewing with. Eye contact is going to be key, so you don't want to be looking around. You don't want to be looking at your phone. Again, that's a distraction. Try to keep that away from your desk during your interview time, and fully engage with the person that is interviewing you. It can be stressful that some people have nervous twitches. Just try to make sure you're not fidgeting. Keep your hands, under your desk if you need to, rub your hands together or whatever makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. At the end of the day, try to make it not noticeable so that the interviewer does not see that there's any additional movements going on. Again, it's just like an in-person interview, so you want to set off that same impression that you would be if you were walking into somebody's office. I know it can be stressful. I know that, sometimes we want to take notes and we want to know everything about what's going on with the interview, and we want to make sure we have our questions prepared. So when you are potentially taking notes, a key is that you ask the interviewer if it's okay if you jot down some notes. Again, so you're fully engaged, and when immediately you start to take notes, you start to look down. So you want to make sure that you are identifying that's what you're doing, as opposed to being distracted by something else. And it's okay to take notes. They want to make sure, that you're getting all the information about the job and the responsibilities of the role, and it may trigger some really good questions for you to ask later on down the road. So we talked about a lot of things, right? We talked about testing your tech, setting the stage, making sure there's no distractions, making sure that you're on time, because nothing is worse than somebody that's late to an interview. You always want to make sure that you are engaged, that you are authentically yourself. Show your personality through the screen. You can smile, you can have great conversation with somebody, and the better impression that they get of you, whether you get the job or not, you never know where that impression is going to take you, right? Obviously, the goal at the end of the interview is to get a job offer. That's what you're looking for. But if you have a very successful interview and maybe the job offer doesn't come, you've presented yourself in a very good light. It's great practice. And again, that person may find another role for you. So you always want to remember, be a professional, be prepared, and have a fantastic video interview.